Lilith, created, directed, and produced by Reverend Dr. Dikki Joe Mullen. Lilith is an interesting astrological term and feature which Dr. Mullen will explain. It's associated with asteroids and moons.
This is astrologer Dikki Joe Mullen coming to you from downtown Orlando, Florida, to help you to meet the three Liliths, the darkest depths of the psyche. In astrology, the natal chart, also horoscopes for events, will have the solar system as we've all learned it. You'll hear about the sun, moon, Mercury, Mars, and what all of those different familiar bodies mean to you. And I always say a study of mythology will reveal how the different luminaries and the different planets operate in your life, because the ancient tales about Venus and so forth were really all about how the planets were working, and they were metaphors for the way the early astrologers explained the planets. So the ancient myths are really all about celestial energies. As our world has expanded since astrology's history, 5,000 years or more, began, other celestial bodies have been placed in the birth chart. We've heard of the asteroids, Eris, Sedna, the fixed stars, and there are more to come. Among these hovers Lilith. Lilith appears somewhere in each birth chart, and Lilith is a magnificent but terrible, powerful figure, kind of like Maleficent, really. Lilith links to a mythological figure which first appeared as a handmaiden to the goddess Inanna, a queen of heaven. Lilith lived in gloom, a wild and dangerous part of the sacred gardens, a dark side associated with the serpent. Lilith appears again in the Judeo-Christian creation myths as the first wife of Adam, impure, destructive, not supportive of Adam. Supposedly she was the mother of various spirits and entities that hover between this world and the next. She appears again as the snake in the Garden of Eden. Lilith is dangerous and ferocious. She relates to bad love affairs, unwanted children, troubled emotional downfalls, revenge, habitually destructive patterns, gossip, an undercurrent of all that we have within us that needs help and healing, but it's hard to find, confused and deceptive. And the body Lilith celestially is just like this because there are three of them. You might relate them to the maiden, mother, and crone, the past, present, and future. Three different mysterious celestial bodies are called Lilith, and they have three different symbols, and there are three different ephemerides. Ephemerides are the tables astrologers use. The existence of Lilith was confirmed by the U.S. Weather Bureau as long ago as 1879. A famous astrologer, Lois Dayton, called Lilith the Doodler. The first Lilith that we want to look at is the asteroid Lilith. Here is her symbol, and the asteroid Lilith is located in the asteroid belt along with the more familiar asteroids, Ceres, Vesta, Pallas Athena, and Hera. Now the asteroid belt is located between the planets Mars and Jupiter, and long ago we theorized there was another planet there that a comet or something or other blew up into different pieces. And the larger asteroids represent the mother, the sister, the daughter, and the wife around Jupiter. But Lilith is one of the smaller asteroids. Her number is 1181 for everyone who's really good and up and beat on astronomy. The second Lilith is a subtle point in space called the black moon, and this is what this version of Lilith will look like as far as a glyph or symbol goes. Now, the black moon isn't an actual celestial body. It's a geometric point, like the moon's nodes, or for those of you that use cosmobiology, like the midpoints between the planets, sensitive points. Also, the ascendant or the vertex, the part of fortune in the birth chart, would be similar to the black moon. It's the center of gravity between the earth and the moon, and it's a different point in our personal lives that's kind of like quicksand. It's a negative influence. It's a negative force that the earth struggles against magnetically. The third Lilith is the one that I will put into your birth chart only if you ask for it. Most people don't want to know, and there's usually enough to grasp in a whole natal chart anyway without Lilith. And this is the symbol that has something you don't want. If you've ever seen like a sign that says, "Don't walk this way," or "No dogs here," there's a circle with a crossbar there. And this is a second moon that circles the earth every 119 days. It's been cited as long ago as 1618, and the astrologer Safariel focused on this dark moon and wrote about it in 1918. A famous Florida astrologer named Delphine Jay published an ephemeris for it in the mid-20th century. This Lilith is a shadowy silhouette 1/4 the size of our own moon. And in 1898, a German astronomer, Dr. George Waltermoth, also wrote about and found this Lilith. This Lilith, the dark moon Lilith, absorbs light. It's like a dark hole, and it's overly subjective, negative conditioning, replaying of old tapes over and over again. It lets yesterday take away too much from today and tomorrow. This Lilith is grief that just can't be healed or resolved. The regrets of being bogged down and focused on what might have been. Road rage. I would relate that to the dark moon Lilith with a Mercury affliction maybe thrown in. This is a very fast cycle. It's like a cloud that blocks the sun temporarily on a dark day, and then it moves on. There's also a fourth Lilith, believe it or not. Many people feel the fixed star Algol, which is Medusa's eye, the most evil star in the heavens, is really Lilith. But I think 3 of a bad thing is probably enough. I'd like to focus on the dark moon Lilith, the one that I relate most to, through the 12 signs of the zodiac. Everyone has this somewhere in the birth chart, and it is literally a dark satellite that is circling the earth. If your Lilith is in Aries, you'll be restless with monotony and always seek the wrong thrills. It brings out the evil Knievel in each of us. The second Lilith in Taurus is excessive material possessions. You have plenty of money, plenty of diamonds, but you want more anyway. It's love that can be bought with material possessions. The next face of Lilith in Gemini is superficial false knowledge, liking to seem smarter than others, faking credentials. The next position for Lilith in Cancer is torment in the home, toxic relationships, and a bad mix of home and living circumstances. The toxic family syndrome is here. Lilith in Leo, too much partying, pleasure above all else, a neglect of structure in the life. Lilith in Virgo is the chronic hypochondriac, focuses on the trivial and won't fulfill potentials. Lilith in Libra is the misuse of the law, wrongful convictions, unfairness, wrong concepts of others, misjudging of character. Lilith, if she has a ruler, would probably be Scorpio ruled, and this is enticement by black magic, curses and spells, or worries about those, if they're real, threats, an excessive focus on death, and setbacks. Sagittarius position of Lilith is bigotry, religious dogma to hide crimes, the misuse of education, and the nurturing of false hopes, false information. Lilith in Sagittarius is the con artist, the super salesman at his or her worst. Lilith in Capricorn is status, snobbery, keeping up with the Joneses to diminish others. Lilith in Aquarius is illusions about friendship, misconception of others' cultures and human nature, a lack of permanence, and extreme disloyalty. Finally, Lilith in Pisces is loss in a fantasy world, negative voices that are destructive, social activity slumming down to low life, drugs, and alcohol. Well, maybe you've heard enough about Lilith, but let's go through Lilith also in the 12 houses quickly, because this dark little satellite is somewhere by sign, but it does affect a house placements too. In the first house, Lilith will be involvement in lost causes and impulsive decisions that can really have dire consequences. Lilith in the second house is hedonistic, living beyond one's means, overspending. Oh, I relate it to the negative side of credit card debt. The third house Lilith is poor communication, wrong schooling, and actions on false information. Lilith in the fourth house is too much focusing on heritage and ancestry to the loss of identity of the current family life. Lilith in the fifth would be regrets with children, old lost loves, manipulative love, and phony drama. The authentic self gets lost. Lilith in the sixth house is the hoarder, or the neat freak. It can be either way. And the welfare of pets or an unsuitable pet. Oh, like having an exotic cat in a tiny apartment, even though exotic cats have their places. That might be an example. Lilith in the seventh house is commitment at the loss of independence and destructive partnerships, codependent relationships. In the eighth house, Lilith is a bully, accepts death as a part of life, a death wish in a negative way. The ninth house Lilith is unwanted education and unfortunate journeys to the wrong countries. 10th house Lilith is a need for fame and recognition that becomes bitterness at not being successful enough, and taboos and traditions can be employed in a negative way in the workplace. The 11th house Lilith is negative plans and goals. Inventiveness is misused. The wrong networking, the wrong crowd, group, cult affiliations would be an example of an 11th house Lilith. The 12th house is susceptibility to drugs, mirages, addictions, not admitting needs, poor isolation, and poor social skills. This little known element Lilith is a ghost specter, a wraith. Emotions and hidden and secret crushing influences, negative mother figures, trances, dreams, nightmares, lost in a quagmire. Well, there's always a way out, and remember Lilith is small, only a quarter size of the moon. Maybe that means we can rise above it. I think we can. Is it good to know about Lilith? Is it good to know the enemy, to keep the enemy close? Or the friends closer, or a little bit of each? Well, you'll have to decide. And remember, I won't put Lilith in your birth chart unless you ask for it. This is Dikki Jo Mullen in Orlando, Florida, smiling at the negative, because that's a good way to overcome evil, to laugh at it.